Escaping North Korea is an extremely challenging and perilous task due to a combination of political, social, and geographical factors. The North Korean government tightly controls its borders and employs strict security measures to prevent citizens from leaving the country. However, there have been many times where people manage to escape the treacherous conditions both by land and sea. In this video, we will cover 6 reasons why escaping North Korea is nearly impossible. Number 1. Border controls. North Korea shares 3 borders with China to the north, South Korea to the south, and a smaller border with Russia. The Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, serves as the border between North Korea and South Korea. The DMZ was established as part of the Korean Armistice Agreement in 1953 in an effort to end the Korean War. It is a 4-kilometer-wide buffer zone that stretches approximately 250 kilometers across the Korean peninsula, dividing North Korea and South Korea. The DMZ is the most heavily guarded border due to South Korea's policy that anyone entering is automatically considered a citizen of South Korea. The China-North Korea border is approximately 14-16 kilometers long, stretching from the Yalu River in the west to the Tumen River in the east. The terrain along the border is varied, including mountains, rivers, and flatlands. Despite political tensions, there is some legal cross-border trade between China and North Korea. However, the majority of interactions are subject to strict controls and regulations. The Russia-North Korea border is about 17 kilometers long and runs along the Tumen River. The terrain is rugged with mountains and dense forests. The government has implemented extensive border controls, including barbed wire fences, guard posts, and minefields. Anyone attempting to cross the border illegally faces severe consequences, including imprisonment, torture, or execution on the spot. Reason number 2, severe punishment. The North Korean government enforces severe punitive measures for individuals attempting to escape the country. The regime views defection as a betrayal and a threat to its control over the population. Defectors who are apprehended may be sent to political prison camps, commonly known as kwanliso or gulags. These camps are notorious for their harsh conditions, forced labor, and systemic human rights abuses. Individuals caught attempting to escape may also undergo extensive interrogation and torture to extract information about their escape plans, motivations, and who else may be involved in their attempt to escape. The families of defectors are often subjected to punishment as well. This can include imprisonment, forced labor, or relocation to remote areas as a form of collective punishment. The regime uses the threat of harm to family members as a means to discourage defection. Defectors and their families may face social discrimination from their community. The government actively promotes a culture of surveillance, where citizens are encouraged to report on each other, making it difficult for defectors to reintegrate into society. If defectors manage to cross into China or Russia, they face the risk of being deported. Chinese authorities often treat North Korean defectors as illegal migrants rather than refugees, and there is a policy of returning them to North Korea if caught. The North Korean government doesn't have to worry too much about the northern borders due to this policy. In extreme cases, the North Korean government may resort to execution as a punishment for defection. Executions may be carried out publicly as a deterrent to others who might be contemplating escape. Number 3. Restrictions on movement. In North Korea, the government imposes strict restrictions on the movement of its citizens, controlling their ability to travel within the country. These restrictions are part of the regime's efforts to maintain tight control over the population and prevent any dissent or attempts to defect. North Koreans are required to obtain permits to reside in specific areas, and these permits are tied to their family registry. Changing one's residence without proper authorization is considered illegal and can result in punishment. The government enforces an internal pass system known as chigonje to regulate movement. Even within cities, citizens are required to obtain permits to travel to certain areas. This includes restrictions on accessing areas deemed sensitive or containing important government facilities. These restrictions on movement contribute to the isolation of North Korean citizens, limiting their exposure to external influences and information. Number 4. Lack of information. The lack of information in North Korea is a significant and deliberate aspect of the government's control over its citizens. The North Korean government tightly controls all forms of media, including newspapers, television, radio, and the internet. State-owned media outlets serve as propaganda tools, spreading government-approved information and promoting the regime's ideology. Only a select few elites and government officials have access to the global internet, and the majority of the population is limited to a domestic intranet called Kwangmyong. This intranet provides access to a curated set of government-approved content. Communication channels, including phone lines, are monitored, and international calls are heavily restricted. This control over communication prevents individuals from freely interacting with people outside the country and limits the flow of information. The education system in North Korea is designed to indoctrinate citizens with the regime's ideology. Textbooks and educational materials are carefully curated to promote loyalty to the ruling Kim family and the state. Critical thinking and exposure to alternative ideas are discouraged. Possessing or disseminating unauthorized information, especially content critical of the government or its leaders, is punishable by severe penalties. Individuals caught with foreign media, unauthorized books, or any material deemed subversive may face imprisonment or other forms of punishment. Number 5. Lack of international support. The lack of international support on addressing issues related to North Korea, including human rights and the circumstances of defectors, stems from various geopolitical complexities and differing approaches among nations. The Korean Peninsula has been a focal point of geopolitical tensions, particularly between North Korea and South Korea, as well as the broader competition between major powers such as the United States. These political and ideological divisions complicate efforts to form a coordinated international approach. Concerns about regional stability, nuclear proliferation, and potential refugee crisis contribute to differing national security priorities. Number 6. Human trafficking. The risk of human trafficking is a significant concern for individuals attempting to escape from North Korea. North Korean defectors are often in vulnerable situations, having faced persecution and human rights abuses in their home country. This vulnerability makes them targets for human traffickers who exploit their desperation and lack of resources. Some defectors may be trafficked into forced labor situations, where they are compelled to work under exploitative conditions. This could involve forced labor in industries such as agriculture, manufacturing, or construction. Efforts to address the risk of human trafficking for North Korean defectors involve raising awareness, improving legal protections, and enhancing international cooperation to combat trafficking networks. Human rights organizations and advocacy groups play a crucial role in highlighting these issues and working towards the protection of vulnerable individuals. The combination of these key reasons creates a climate of fear and discourages individuals from attempting to escape. Despite these risks, some North Koreans still undertake the perilous journey, driven by desperate circumstances, a desire for freedom, or the hope of finding a better life outside the oppressive regime. The international community, human rights organizations, and governments have raised concerns about these punitive measures, advocating for the protection of the rights of North Korean defectors. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like so the YouTube algorithm helps me out. This was our first video, so expect many more in the future.